welcome back to episode number 2 of After Bedtime. And this is Steven, and I was able to pull her away from TikTok for a few minutes, so Kelsey's with me again. And we are gonna do a little talky talk, right?
Yep.
Little talky talk.
Little talky talk off
I've
the TikTok.
actually done a little bit more prep this time and actually listed some topics that I want to prompt us with. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
But just to kind of get things rolling, how was your day?
It was a good day.
Good?
Yeah.
Kids were good?
Yeah.
Yeah, the boys went down actually pretty good. We only had to fix blankets one time.
Well, I think he's starting to get it that we're not going to be coming in there 50 gazillion times like we used to.
That's a win.
But also, I think having another little boy here during the day helped kind of wear them out. It was exciting having someone else to play with.
My day was good, except it was kind of long, and then I was kind of behind, and then I had to cram everything into the night, but it was good. What about your week? How was your week from last week?
Great.
Any updates on your 2020 goals?
No.
We tried to potty train Kyler for a couple hours.
Yeah, that's not gonna be the same as Cal. That was
a little stressful.
It was a lot more chaotic. But I don't know if it was...
I think the exact words you used were, "This is hell."
I said, "This is my hell."
Yeah, it's fair enough. So we tried that. We're gonna work on it some more, but
I just don't think he was quite ready.
Fair enough. We tested the waters. We still have till December 31st of 2020, so we got a little ways to go.
Well, I mean, by that point, I'm sure he'll be well on his way, but I just know, I could just tell that he did make a mini progress today, is that he told me that he went poop.
That's good.
And that's a good sign. Or at least I looked up and he told me that that's what he was doing.
Would you ever thought you'd be excited about another human being telling you that they have to go poop?
I mean, as a mom, yeah. That's a great step, because I would like to not have to pay for diapers, or at least as the expensive diapers that Kyler has to have.
True that. I don't really have any updates. I think I'm doing okay. I've rode the bike a lot, and the only thing I think I've kind of fallen down on is we haven't done any purposeful dating between the two of us.
In the past week?
Yeah, but we're only 8 days into this thing, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, and we've both been kind of busy.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing actually I want to talk about, or that I want to discuss, or talky, or I don't know what you want to call it, is so the other day, I don't remember what day it was. The other day, you sent me a text message, and it was at the end of the day. Or no, it was middle of the day, and I was at work, and you were here, and you sent me a text, and you were like, "Hey, just a heads up, the boys have been crazy today, and I'm a little worn out, so if you come home and I'm just a little bit not super excited."
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that got me thinking about was, one, I really liked that because it set an expectation, right? It managed my expectations, and I knew how to I kind of knew how to set myself and know how to approach that evening. I need to be a little bit more active.
I just know that I have learned that if I don't communicate my mental state, if it's poor, or if I'm feeling low or something like that, if I don't communicate it we tend to have an argument later that night.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, was because it made me think so much about how even like obviously in a marriage, but also just in relationships in general, how far that goes to just be openly honest about like where your mental state is and and especially where your energy level is. Like,
well, I think
I'm
sometimes,
worn out, or
I
my
think
energy level's low, or I'm tired, and that just doing that, I feel like it communicates to the other person right off the bat that what they can expect from you, and so they kind of know how to interact with you, and they also know how to take. They can also read your body language and your mood and your words just so much differently than if you hadn't communicated that. You know, they may take it personally that they're boring you or you're upset with them.
Is that normally when people come into this situation and see someone like that, they normally take it as, oh, it's me. I've done something wrong. And I've learned that over the years of being with you, is that you normally take my mood personally.
Yeah, and also just knowing that you need to have like,
I needed extra help or
extra patience. Or
yes, I needed extra patience.
I won't have as much patience, so I need you to bring a little bit more patience to the game. But being
even
able,
just with me, I needed you to be more patient with me.
And being able to just like have that give and take.
Yeah.
One, we should do that more.
Yeah.
But two, we should do that more just with everyone in general. Like, I think that's like, hey, so let you know I'm feeling good today. I'm energized. I'm high energy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get stuff done. Or, hey, it's one of those days. It's tough. And to be able to communicate that and not feel like you're being needy or weak or you're not strong somehow, or, you know what I mean? Being able to be open and honest about those things without feeling like it's a negative reflection on you or that you're putting too much on someone else.
Yeah.
All you're really doing is you're just setting and managing expectations.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, so much of like miscommunication and fighting and misunderstandings is you had expectations that I didn't meet, and I had expectations of you that you didn't meet, but I didn't communicate them.
Yeah.
So when you didn't meet them, I just blow up, or you get upset, and we're like, well, why are they upset? You know, and you're like, well, how did they not know? Well, because we didn't say anything. So that was really good. I thought that was a win for communication. Yeah. Like, I thought that was a big win. We need to do that more. You have anything else to say? Do you have any talkie on that one, Les?
Stop saying talkie. No, I just think that people need to become more comfortable with their own mental state. I know that I am a personality that I'll go from like really high highs to like really low lows, and if I don't communicate to people around me, then it's gonna ruin everyone else's time around me, and I know that. And I just want everyone just needs to be more comfortable in themselves and know that that's how they are. It doesn't make them a bad person or a weak person. It's just saying, hey, this is how I am right now. It literally how it is it's almost like a handout. Like, it's just reaching out and saying, hey, like when you are in a low, just being like, hey, I need the help so that I can readjust myself. And I think just that communication, especially with your spouse, it helps you be a better parent.
Yeah, it helps you be a better parent. Just
a better spouse, and just in general when you're communicating how you feel, because how you feel is never wrong. It just
is what it is.
It is, yeah.
But so many times we hold on to that. It's just only we know how we're feeling.
Yeah, but everyone can always feel it.
They can feel it,
but they don't know what's going on,
correct.
And they don't know how to fix it, and
so
they don't know how to help you.
So you start to make assumptions.
Yeah, and so then it just makes it worse, because then you're like, well, is it this? Is it me? And then that person's like, then you've made the person who feels low spiral, because they're like, I don't
Yeah, they beat themselves up more
Yeah,
about it.
because now I'm making them feel terrible, and I don't want them to feel terrible, and it's a terrible cycle. And there's like both sides. I'm gonna kind of call them out, but like I mean, both sides of my family doesn't have the best communication skills. And I know at the beginning of our relationships, I had terrible communication skills. And I'm now starting to get to a point to where I feel more comfortable in communicating with everyone around me, because it makes everything worse.
Yeah, I mean,
when you don't communicate.
But I think that's
feelings.
normal. Like, I think it's normal for your communication skills they're immature early on, and then you develop more and more, especially the more intimate your relationships become.
Yeah.
The more you're
like the ones I have in my life right now, I want those to stay. Like, those are important people to me, and I feel like communication is just huge, because I don't know, like if just even with friends, if friends kind of were like, "Hey, I'm feeling low. I need you to pull me out of the house," or like, "I miss you."
Yeah, but being able to, but I think that's where like one, you have to have the self-awareness. The first skill is you have to be able to have the self-awareness to know, okay, I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be self-aware enough to kind of be like a third person observing yourself and saying, oh, I am having,
I don't think,
or yeah, I'm tired today, or yeah, I'm high energy today, or, you know.
I don't think I have like all of my emotions down, but I think ever since these past like 2 years, when my anxiety has come into play a lot higher. Like, I've had anxiety, I've had panic attacks, but I mean, now that I have anxiety kind of more on a regular basis, I'm more hyper aware of when I'm anxious and when I'm like having a low.
But I don't think that's even like, I wouldn't say that's like hyper. I feel like hyper awareness. Well, I guess I feel like it's more of you're making an effort.
Well, it's just,
and you're being more mindful of being aware of your feelings, and I think that's the key.
And that's what's good for you. It's good for the person who's feeling that way to actually attempt to reach out or do something to help themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Is you gotta know what you're feeling, you gotta name what you're feeling, and then you have to communicate what you're feeling. And I think that's like the levels of like hierarchy of like leveling up your communication skills. If you can do those things, it will go so far in a relationship. And like, I didn't take, when you sent that, like, so many of us would be so scared to communicate that, because we'd be like, oh, well, he's gonna think he has to come home and do like all the work, and he's gonna think that I'm just gonna check out, or he's gonna think that I'm gonna, nag
just
at
yell
him,
at him.
But really, like, my response to it was like, oh, okay, good. That, like, I know she's tired, so I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna try to be more helpful and more active and more patient, and like, I'm just gonna be more mindful of those things. Not that I have to walk on eggshells or do everything perfect. But now I'm aware of what you're feeling, and now I can respond to it. I don't have to worry about this guessing game of trying to anticipate what to do.
Yeah, well, spouses just naturally have more of that instinct with each other of sensing something and feeling a role that the other one is lacking at that point in time. And I just knew, sorry, I just knew at that point in time that I was spiraling. I was not having a good day, and the boys were being more of a handful than normal, and it was just one of those days where I was not in the right state of mind to kind of take on them acting more poorly than normal. And I just knew that if I didn't communicate that with you were going to come home and it was going to be like a stressed out environment versus like coming home and everyone's excited to see you and it's a big huge thing. And then I also didn't want to get to the point of where it was like prideful, because I know that I communicate better with you still.
But we all have that pride.
Well,
we all have that pride of like, I shouldn't feel like I'm tough enough to take this. I shouldn't get worn down by this. I shouldn't.
But what I'm saying is that I know even now I still communicate better with people through texts than face to face. Because I know as soon as you would get here, I would revert into that. I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need him.
Well, it's a lot. I think
need his help.
Sometimes written. I mean, people knock it all the time, like texting versus calling or
you're not face to face.
But I think there is something said about putting. It sometimes helps you articulate. It sometimes being able to communicate what you're feeling and thinking directly from your head through your mouth is hard. But sitting down and putting it into prose or into written word, you almost can you get all the messiness out, and then you can edit it and clean it up and actually get to what you're trying to say. So much better.
Because that's one of the biggest things that frustrates me about myself is that I struggle with words, and that's normally where a lot of times that we end up falling into like an argument or something is because in that moment, because I'm frustrated or I'm feeling amped or anything like that, it's like all of a sudden my brain just like shuts off. And I can't put words into sentences. I can't communicate how I'm feeling, and then it just makes it even worse, and it just makes all my feelings worse.
Yeah,
and then I spiral.
I think people needlessly knock. Like I think there's value in writing it, and if that's writing it and then saying it to someone, I mean that's fine too. But if it's writing it and then sending it to someone, that's I don't think we should put one on a pedestal over the other.
No, because it's still a form of communication. If somebody communicates better through words or writing a letter or writing an email or even face to face, if they communicate better that way, that's just how they communicate better until they become more comfortable in themselves to communicate in other ways. That's just what they have to do to be able to communicate and reach out for help when they need it.
100%.
But it is a lot harder said. I mean, like
it's a lot harder said than done. But I think that's where it's a lot easier said than done. Yeah, it's a lot easier said than done. I think that's like where the levels come in. Like I was talking to Lane about this. I think you have to you can't do all that in a day or in a month or a year. It's like, okay, level 1 is I'm gonna work on being mindful of how I'm feeling and naming what I'm feeling. Level 2 is, okay, I know what I'm feeling, I'm aware of it. And then level 2 is, okay, now I can communicate that to other people. I can be vulnerable enough to share that. Yeah. And that all takes practice and time. And every relationship is going to have a different level of, intimacy. So what you might disclose to me is going to be different than you'll disclose to someone else. That's normal. Yeah. But being able to do it is the skill.
I think really what's kind of funny is one of the biggest changes that it's been within this past year. It's really kind of what I have to owe it to is on Queer Eye, Jonathan Van Ness, where he just told the lady, he was like, tell me what you want. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you need and what you want. And he was like, because what you need and what you want, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, about how so many problems in adult relationships and so many problems in the world are simply people's inabilities to say what they need and what they want. I need you to be more loving. I need you to be more...
Because we've over the years, people have just beat other people down for being vulnerable.
Yeah, well, I think it's you shouldn't need stuff from others, and to tell.
Yeah, you should be able to take care of yourself.
And to tell other people that you need things from them is to be needy.
Yeah.
And it's to and I don't know if anyone ever comes right out and says that, but it's just kind of that people. It's just kind of that societal norm that you feel is you're not supposed to be needy. You're supposed to...
But it's the biggest thing is that if you are communicating your needs and your feelings and the people around you are making you feel bad for communicating those feelings, those people shouldn't be around you.
No, and it's also total... and I think the next level, though, the level up from okay, I need to be able to tell people what I want, what I need, is then I need to be able to be okay if they can't supply it. Like if I say, Kelsey, I need you to be more attentive to doing the dishes, and you're like, well, I'm busy with 60 other things, and I'm not going to be able to meet that expectation. Then the level 2 to that is saying, okay, being able to handle that without it becoming
well, then
being
you
upset
go into
about
yourself of making that decision of, is this something worth
having a longer discussion about it, or
Yes.
more involved discussion,
or
or
possibly
compromise.
damaging the relationship or something like that. Like that's where then you need to take an internal look of, is this really something that is that important to me?
And that ties back into this topic that I want and I need, ties back into the topic, because a lot of that is expectation. A lot of that is communicating what you're expecting or from the other one. Because if you don't, how am I supposed to know?
Yeah.
Like you're just like, let me get out my crystal ball and like.
Yeah, people don't just know what you need or what.
I feel like that happens
you're
not
going
only
through.
Like it happens in a marriage. I think.
Yeah.
I think very, especially early on in relationships, you're afraid to be that needy partner.
Well, and then it also is. It's the same. Some people still do it even in long marriages, because you're like, well, I've been with this person for 10 years. They should know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no.
And we kind of almost feel like if I don't have to tell them, it's like it means more, right? It's like if I have to tell them,
if they just know what you need in that moment, it does mean more. Because I mean, like, it doesn't necessarily mean more, but it gives you the good feels of like, oh.
It does, but it's also, to me, it's somewhat been unfair. That's awesome if that happens, but I think the unfair part is being upset if it doesn't.
No, I completely agree with that. That expectation shouldn't be there without that person knowing that.
And I think maybe each relation, like in a marriage, I can understand that. After 10 years, after 11 years, after 12 years, if you've been really communicating and really in tune with one another, then yeah, like maybe.
But a lot of times people are not communicating.
They're not communicating. But I think then I see it play out in professional relationships, especially between like employee-employer relationships, in the sense that your boss or your employer just kind of expects you to know what they're wanting you to provide, or they expect you to know.
Well, I mean, it's just another like codependent relationship.
Correct. It's their inability. For some reason, they feel like if they give you if they give you the format of the test, your answers, if you get it correct, aren't as worthy, right? Like you have to somehow decipher the right presentation layout or the right information to put in the report, and it's like, why though? Why can't you just clearly define what you want so that people can fulfill what you want? You'll be satisfied.
But also in turn, people also need to feel comfortable to ask those questions.
Correct. Yeah, you have to. I think that's where, I think personally, that's one thing I've done in professional relationships is I've made it a point to really drill home, like, okay, that's great, but I still don't really understand what you're wanting, and just continue until I get that person to communicate it.
Because sometimes that person doesn't really know what they're wanting.
Yeah.
Or they have an idea, but they don't really know how to communicate it. But then that's also where that person needs to not be so prideful and being like, well, I'm the boss.
Pretend like.
Yes, I know all. Like, that's the other
like,
part
I know
of it.
The answer, like, I don't know the answers, but I'm going to pretend like I do, and you have to try to guess them.
Yeah, and that's not okay, because also we're all human. Whether you've been in that business for 20 years and you're talking to somebody who's been in it in 5, that doesn't mean that you know all about the business.
No, it doesn't.
And so you just everyone always needs to take a step back and not go on the prideful defensive mode of, well, you just go you go figure it out.
Just figure out what I need.
But it's like,
let me get my crystal ball.
Yeah, but really just the biggest thing that I would like people to take away from this is just communicating your needs and wants It's not a bad thing.
No, it's totally
it's
okay.
It's never a bad thing.
And you should be openly I think, and that's what I like. As I'm reading my note here, that's what I like. You should be openly communicating your physical and mental state, especially. Yes. I mean, that may not apply in a lot of relationships, but especially like I feel like in your marriage with your spouse.
Well, I think family members.
Yeah,
like or anybody that's close in your life, like. It's not a bad thing.
Like, I don't think you need to tweet it. Like,
I'm saying
if you want to tweet it, that's fine. But I'm not saying you necessarily have to do every time you have a conversation. You need to say, "I'm low energy today." But if you're,
you have to do it all within reason, because it's also the same thing of, I don't think it's a bad thing to go to your bosses and be like, "Hey, I apologize that I've been in this funk lately, and I may not have been working to the ability that I should be working. It's just I have been in this rut, and I'm trying to get out of it. I'm trying to help." And then they may even be able to give you some advice or help you do something. It's just, the biggest thing is in every single relationship that you have, it is never a bad thing to communicate what you need or what you want. And it's just never a bad thing to communicate those things. And also, you need to be on the prideful front. You need to take a step back and just realize that the people around you love you and they just want what's best for you. And if you have people in your life that don't make you feel that way, then you shouldn't have them in your life. Because if they love and care about you, you having a quote unquote weak moment to express yourself to these people, those people should always just open their arms and with loving grace.
It means it's just not a very it's
not a
good
positive relationship you should have in your life.
Alrighty, that's our first topic. We're already 27 minutes into this thing.
Well, I feel very, very passionate.
I agree, but I wanted
mental health.
I wanted to bring that up because I think it was just good. Like, it stood out to me from something we did or communicated about that was positive.
I can't see those little words.
I'm reading it. So the other thing that came up was, I think it was Monday this week. You told me that you. Okay, you're gonna have to tell.
You're making me nervous.
You're gonna have to
say, from this day this
I'm
week.
gonna disclose your deepest, darkest moment.
No, I have no issue with of talking about anything. It's just sometimes you, like earlier when you were like, you sent me a text in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I send?
You told me that you saw something, read something, heard something about listening to the feeling or listening to your. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, you reached out. You reached out to your old coworker of yours because you felt like you should.
Yes.
You remember that? Okay, so explain that.
I do remember
Explain
that.
Where that came from.
When we were in Kansas City, I was listening to the radio, and one of the I don't know what radio station it was, but it was like a little talk show in the morning, and they were saying that of having those moments that pop in your head of when you're like, oh, I wonder how so-and-so is doing, to act on that, because that could be God's way of saying, this person needs you right now, or something like that. And that was really impactful to me, because there is a lot of people in my life that
it struck a chord with you.
Yes, because there's a lot of people that were in my life in the past that I still care deeply about, and I'll randomly see something that reminds me of them, but I don't ever act on it because my natural feelings of awkwardness. I don't want to be awkward or anything like that. Or
that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think it's so relatable. When you said that, I thought when you told me the story, I didn't react much because I was having like that introvert moment where I was like,
yes.
This is really great that you're sharing this with me, but
I know that a lot of times that I'm just talking at you.
But you did. But
you're still internalizing the information.
I didn't really internalize it, and I thought about
that day. It made me feel really great that I did that.
I internalized it so much because I think it was so relatable for myself. I think it's so relatable for other people. Is that all throughout your day and all throughout your week and your year, I think you do experience those moments, and I think you can call it what you would like, but I think for me, I think I would kind of agree with that radio host, is that it is a higher calling's voice. It is God's way of, it is God's nudge. You know, it's not like you're really hearing voices, and that's why I said that feeling, but it's that feeling. For some reason, something comes to your brain that's so random, out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it just triggers something.
But then how many times does that happen? And you just kind of let it go, though.
Because you're like, oh, I don't want to bother them.
Or I don't know for what reasons. Like for me, I think it's most of the time like it's there, and then something else comes in and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, we should act on those things more. Like,
well, it's just the story that was being told on the radio station is that somebody had a thought about a high school best friend that they had lost contact with out of high school, and they had that random thought of, oh, I wonder how they're doing, and then they like let it go, and then a week later they were told that person had passed away.
It's just like you almost feel like
it's like, well, because unfortunately what it was is that person had passed away of an overdose, and so it's not necessarily saying that them not communicating with them was the issue, or like the last resort type thing, because obviously that person needed more help than what anybody could have given them, but you never know.
You never know, and so much of those feelings are, like, just my own personal experience with that, is so much of those feelings are relational in nature. It's like, I should reach out to that coach I had in high school, or I should check on my brother and see how he's doing today.
Yeah.
Or I need to call my mom, or it's just those little nudges you get. And like you said, you told me that you felt like, okay, I'm going to do that more.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to get on that wagon with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it more.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, I just think that it was just very impactful to me, because just the thought of those people that I think about all the time randomly, finding out that for some, God knows what reason of them unfortunately getting in a car crash or passing away or something, and then that was like my last chance to have a conversation with them, I've just lost it.
I was also thinking of it like from an opportunities perspective.
Yeah, to get that relationship back.
Yeah,
too.
like you never know what might, like that person that you haven't connected with, or maybe it's that shot that you want to take, like.
Yeah.
Or you get that feeling like, I should ask that person for a coffee date, or I should see if that person would like to partner with me on something, or or maybe they, it's like those opportunities that the only thing that may happen is like nothing comes of it, but maybe a positive interaction, or worst case a negative interaction.
You just never know what could come of it.
Yeah, you never know what come of it, and if you believe that it is. If you believe it's God telling you, it's like, what was he trying to put in your path? And what did you miss? I mean, maybe you didn't miss it forever, but what did you lose
what
a chance?
What opportunity did you just miss out on? Because, like reaching out to this person to be like, hey, this reminded me of you and it made my heart feel warm, yada, yada, yada. And for them to reply to be like, I really needed that. I felt really low, and it just made me feel good to hear that somebody thinks of me this way. And it just made it then in turn made me feel good, because like I know how it feels to feel low. Mm-hmm. And then when you have just that random act of kindness from anybody, it could be you going through the Starbucks line and you're like, I'm gonna get this Starbucks, it's gonna pick me up, and then all of a sudden the person in front of you paid for you. You don't know that person. But that little random act can shed a little light into your day.
100%. So that's.
And I have that feeling all the time of like, I should pay for the person behind me. But then I'm like.
Well, obviously, like there's economical considerations.
No, yes, and that's why I tell myself not to. But I just have random feelings like that all the time.
Yeah, I think other people could totally relate.
You should act on them more.
All right. Last thing, and I don't even know if this can because we're 35 minutes in. I think we should try to keep these episodes about 45 minutes. That's what the first
Well,
one
then
is.
we
So.
could do like a teaser for the next one.
Okay, so but I'm gonna start this conversation. It's kind of in depth. Okay, so
I can't see the words, so
Okay,
you're building it up.
okay, so I thought it'd be fun to talk about when, how, and why we decided to have kids.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to discuss this in like 5 minutes. I would say, well, really, to tell you the truth, I wanted kids. I knew I wanted kids younger.
Yeah.
Before I had even met you.
Yes, and I feel the same way about that. I feel like I did not know when I wanted kids.
Yes.
But I knew that kids were a part of my story in
Yes.
some way, shape, or form. That at some point in my life, fatherhood would be a part of it.
Yes. And because that's my biggest thing that I've always just struggled with in life. Like I struggled with in college and stuff like that. I never really had a feeling of like a higher purpose of like in a job. But the one thing that was always really there is that I was like, I want to be a mom.
Yeah, 100%.
And that was the only thing that was like huge and a big deal to me. And I just wanted to be the best mom that I could be. And so I knew that.
So I think
from a young age.
So that answers the first part of the question was when we decided. So I think both of us decided.
Well, I mean, we discussed it very early on in our relationship too.
I can remember being like.
Because I was older than you, and I was like, I'm making this clear.
But I can remember talking about it like within the first year.
Yeah.
Of dating, like being 15.
Well, not saying that like we were gonna have them the next year.
No, but I remember like being clear about like we both felt like that was part of our story.
That we wanted to be married.
Of at some point we wanted kids in our lives, and we were agreed on that.
Yeah.
I think that the win of the real specifics of when we were gonna have kids, I think later as in our relationship, later into college and adult life.
I knew. Because I knew that I wanted my first at least by 25.
Yeah, you
I had a time limit.
You set the clear expectation on the timetable, but I think we were also agreed that timetable was agreeable because I think we both felt that it needed to be post college.
You felt that it needed to be post
college. No.
I agreed with you that yes, that was probably best.
But that was more of the fact that I didn't think that it was gonna. I thought it was gonna be too much to try to raise kids. And
I completely agree. I'm just telling you that in the time of younger Kelsey, didn't care about that.
Well, you cared about it though, because I cared about it, right?
Yes, but I'm telling you that But if I had
said no, I'm fine with having kids while I'm in college, you would have been like, yeah, let's do it. Fair enough.
But also, we didn't really get married until after.
Yeah.
You were almost graduated, and I knew that was just something that was important to me, and that there's no I'm not judging in any sort of way. It just was something that was important to me, that I wanted to be married before we had children.
I also, though, was in agreement with the whole having kids. I was in agreement also with the kids having your first kid at 25. One, because obviously it was acceptable because I would be out of school. I should have been out of school by then. Two, it was acceptable because I also felt like I really wanted to be a young dad. Or I wanted to start fatherhood early in life.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be young when my kids were young. I wanted to be active and be able to do things and see things.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I wanted to have a post, kid life. Your kids are always your kids, but at some age they become lower maintenance. They're out of your house. They're still your responsibility.
Well, I mean, you could ask my mom and dad. We're probably not lower maintenance.
But you know what I mean. I wanted to be 40, 45. I wanted to be able to start engaging in things outside of just raising kids.
Yes, and I agree with that. But I also, as people around me know, I don't think that far ahead.
No.
That's why me and
But that was part of
That's why me and you mesh well together, because I think more of the now, and let's do do things now, and think about the future.
In all of that, it came together to agree, okay, we're going to have kids in this time period of I'll be 23-ish, you'll be 25-ish.
I just knew that what's funny is that I always, and you can ask anyone from early Kelsey life, I knew I was going to have 2 boys, and that what's funny is that I said I always wanted 2 big burly football players is what I wanted. And I just knew that was going to be my life.
Now, if they grow up and they're not big burly football players, they're gonna be like, "Mom didn't want us."
I totally have changed all of that. I think I just wanted big mama boys is what I wanted.
Well,
I just wanted the big, like I wanted them to be bigger than me, and then but still like adore me as much as they did when they were toddlers. And I just always knew that was something that was gonna be part of my life, and I wanted to have all of my children before I turned 30. And that was the biggest thing.
And that's kind of the how we decided, was going back to the first topic, the really long topic of conversation, which is we were from a very early age and very early on in a relationship, we were both very clear about what we wanted. We were very clear about kind of what we felt like our desired timeline was for that thing. And I think through a lot of discussion, a lot of communication, we got on the same page, and we were able to stay on the same page from me being 15 to me being 23, and you being 17 to being 25. Like we were on the same page, and we always were checking in to make sure like this is still kind of the plan. This is what we agreed on. But
I don't ever feel like one ever pressured the other one in any. We both were like 100% on the same page.
No, yeah, 100. I don't think we pressured either of us, but I think we were making sure that, hey, this fits, and that we don't have any disagreements, because if we had disagreements, we had plenty of time to work that thing out and discuss how that was. And I think that's the important thing of making a big lifestyle changing decision like that, is making sure that you both understand what's to come and how that will impact you and what the timetable is.
Well, I mean, you both people need to feel comfortable before bringing another life into the situation, because if one person is uneasy about the situation, it's going to deteriorate at some point in time, because that's just how things happen when.
But I don't think the why. I think the why, obviously, being that we both wanted kids, like we both want that.
That was literally the only thing in my life that I knew.
But I think the why of why we kind of did it when we did it was, I guess, I was done with school. We were both working.
And Kelsey had a timeline.
Yeah, there was a timeline, but it was an agreed upon one. We both wanted. We had gotten married.
Yeah.
But I don't think we ever really had that, like, with Cal. I don't feel like we ever really had that, like, let's start trying.
No.
We didn't really have a formal conversation. We both were kind of like, yeah, now it's time. Like,
well,
it was kind of like.
I just think we both were kind of under the understanding of, okay, we're married now. It's okay if it happened.
Yeah, and
it's not necessarily that we were like, it has to happen this year.
Yeah.
I just think we were like, okay, we're married now. If it happens, it happens.
And then once we had started, then I lost one of my jobs.
Yeah.
And then it was a panic, and then like it was like within weeks of that happening,
we found out that we were pregnant.
And like I remember like when you took the test.
I was so excited.
Well, you were so excited, but you were also because it felt like we had been trying for so long, even though we hadn't.
Not in the grand scheme of things. Like,
but we felt like we're so young and we should be able to do this so quickly.
I just kind of thought that it was going to be like a snap. It's like I'm healthy, we're young, there should be no issue, and I know we shouldn't even complain about it. Because there's people who wait years.
I don't think we were complaining about it, but I think we were so excited.
I was frustrated with myself because I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, and we were so excited to like have this happen.
Yeah.
But then I remember when it happened, you were almost like in disbelief. Like I remember you came out of the bathroom and you were like, I think it's positive. Like, I just remember, like, you were so excited, but it was such disbelief because I think you had
well,
this.
I just gotten used to getting negative tests.
Yeah.
And then whenever it came positive, I was like, oh God, it's real.
But then it all worked out because then I got a good job.
Yeah.
And one of the big things we also shared on the kid front was it was important for someone to be able to stay with the kids. And then it worked out great because in all of that and losing that one job, it was like, okay, it's time to do something with this degree, and then a job came along that both fit what we needed and it allowed you to stay home. Like, it was just the timing then all made sense, and it was just kind of, for me, it was a reinforcement that
it was slightly. I'm not saying Cal was unfortunate timing. I'm just saying that with me at Panera, it was unfortunate timing because I had just became manager.
Yeah, but that
was increasing.
But that wasn't your.
No, but I enjoyed it. Though.
It would have been different. I feel like it would have been different if that was your. If that was your aspiration, you had to give that up. No, I probably would have
stayed. I probably would have just stayed, and we would have just found a daycare
But it worked out perfectly because you went on maternity leave and you had just enough maternity leave to cover you all the way to the.
No, what was funny is that I had the 2 weeks vacation because since I was leaving, I didn't get the maternity leave. But they said I could take out my 2 weeks vacation. So I just went ahead and kind of gave my 2 weeks, but then that was my vacation time.
So that
but my actual date that I said I was going to leave was the 29th.
Well,
and that's
close.
No, when I said I was going to leave, because Cal was on the 22nd. The day I was going to leave was the 19th. And that's actually the day that I started having contractions at home. And if Lindsay had not had changed it, because I was supposed to have a closing shift on the 19th, and she said, why don't you just go ahead and take that off? And I literally that night started to go into labor. And I was like, thinking back, I was like, I would have been miserable. Mm. Because I didn't know that's what was happening.
I think that for me, it was all very reinforcing all the events that transpired after we kind of started trying and we found out we're pregnant. It was just reinforcing that it was part of the plan and it was going to be okay. It was going to work out, and you know what I mean? It's kind of like you hate to say it was meant to be, but I feel like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's how we got 2 babies.
Well, really, the discussion is funny of Kyler because we actually discussed it.
That was more of a discussion, and we planned it, and then it happened really quick.
It happened the next week. Yeah. We literally were like, yeah, okay, we'll go ahead and start trying for a second because then Cal will be almost 2, and that everything will work out great. And then literally the next month we were pregnant. I was like, oh, great, okay,
we were in
go time.
But it's worked out good.
17 months apart.
So we're at 48 minutes. I feel like this episode was really good, and it was good to have topics. I think the prompts help a lot. So I'm gonna continue trying to be prepared like that.
That's just who you are in general. I could just randomly just keep on talking, and I mean, if people are actually listening to this,
you're the talent. You're the talent. I'm the showrunner, and I have to manage the talent.
That's not what I'm saying. I just know that I will just keep talking.
So is there anything left you want to?
I mean, you probably should cut it off now because it's already almost at 50.
Okay. We're coming on 50 minutes. So we hope you guys enjoyed it. And do you want to do a sign off?
Why do you? No, because I don't know what to say.
All right. Well, we've kind of leveled up our game here, so we hope you guys feel like now we kind of look like and maybe sound a little bit more like we know what we're doing, even though we don't. And we hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and you can follow us on Instagram and come back for the next episode.
Yep.
See you guys next time.
Bye.